we're going to learn today how to prepare for your classroom observation for this school year 2025 to 2026. In the process, we'll be discussing the Memorandum 89 series of 2025, which provides the multi-year performance management evaluation system for teachers for those school years, so for the next 3 years starting 2025. So this has been issued only October 1, 2025. So there is a need for us to discuss this. We are now in the middle of the school year for 2025-2026, and there is a need for the school heads to disseminate this information to our beloved teachers. Recently issued only last October 1, 2025. We hope to provide you with an idea where to read the guidelines. So we are also giving away this PowerPoint presentation. So if you wish to get this PowerPoint presentation so that as school heads or as principals or as teachers, you will be guided as to the important guidelines that you have to take note in preparing your classroom demonstration, classroom observation. And of course, if you are the principal, you have to talk about this. You have to share this to your teacher. So if you wish to get this free PowerPoint presentation, there will be instructions given at the end of this video. So please go ahead and watch this from start to end. But let me warn you, this is going to be a long video. This is going to be a lecture video, so it's quite long. But of course, the DepEd order is not short, so we have to really discuss it so that we will understand how we're going to proceed with the classroom observation process. And if we are the principal, how are we going to rate? If you are the master teacher, how do we rate and how are we rated? So let's get started. The legal basis for all the discussion is we always refer to the DepEd Memorandum. That's DepEd Memorandum 89 series of 2025. Just a disclaimer, this is my own interpretation of the DepEd Memorandum. So of course, you can always read it on your own and interpret it based on the guidelines provided. So, but we apply the principle of what is written there. If there's no confusion, then it is what it is. Okay? So let's start with the scope and coverage. The DepEd Memorandum applies to all public school teachers, whether you are teacher 1 to 7. There is also a discussion on master teachers 1 to 5, including teachers in the ALS, Madrasa program, special needs education program, and special science education program. So let's go to a situation. What if your principal immediately rates you without even apprising you of the guidelines in rating your performance in the COT? Is this proper? Well, basically, if you look at the stages under the DepEd Memorandum issued, you will see that there are 4 stages. So you have to freely follow, because if you're not going to apprise your teachers as to how they are rated in their demonstration, they will end up doing the performance review without even the knowledge of how to get high grades or how to get the outstanding rating. So let's master this, because as we all know, this is already the basis for our promotion, since there is already an enhanced career progression in the Department of Education. So it's an expanded career progression that we have to follow, and this is now our pathway to be promoted. And basically, you just have to master the classroom observation indicators and the non-classroom observation indicators. And please, do not settle for anything less. Make sure you master this guideline. So you really need to listen to this, because what we'll be mastering here is how to get the outstanding mark. Okay, so that is our target. So really read this and watch the whole video, or you may read the DepEd Memorandum on your own, the whole DepEd Memorandum, so that you will be apprised as to how you will get the outstanding rating in your classroom observation indicators or the non-classroom observation indicators. So what is the first stage? The first stage is the reason why you are listening to this video. It's performance planning and commitment. We have to apprise our teachers as to how they will be rated for the school year, how we rate them in terms of classroom observation indicators, classroom observable indicators, and the non-classroom observable indicators. So meaning, you have to really talk with them, share to them how they are rated, and you have to do this within 1 month prior to the start of the official opening of classes. So basically, the schedule is 1 month prior and then 1 month after the official opening of classes. There is a range of temporal aspect that you have to do your uprising. Okay? So you have to really inform the teachers ahead of time. So kung hindi man natin magawa at the first grading, the first day of the school year, then we will do it 1 month, within 1 month after. So what will happen to us? We are already in the middle of the school year. Of course, I hope you're listening to this video, watching it from start to finish, because it will really help you master your classroom observation indicators and your classroom observable indicators and your non-classroom observable indicators, and hopefully have a high grade. Okay, so that is the purpose of the first stage. We just need to apprise the teachers of what are the indicators and how would they get the highest grade as much as possible. Of course, we want our teachers to have high grades during their performance, but we need to base it on standards, not just a heuristic estimate, or we don't just look at our teachers and then grade them based on our own estimate. We don't apply heuristic the heuristic process. We apply a very important we master the standards, we look at the rubrics, and we try to see if the indicators and the features of practice are being performed. So that's why in the start of the year, you have to fill up all these forms, these activities. That's why there are tools. For example, the first activity is that you have to talk about the professional standards competencies alignment. Then you need to ask the teachers to self-assess themselves. This has no bearing on the final rating, but you just have to really share to them a self-assessment tool, which hopefully we are praying that it will be released soon. But as of now, it's not released yet. But the self-assessment tool basically is, you can even do it now. Just look at the indicators, which we will be sharing during our discussion in the later part. Maybe on the third part of this video, we will be talking about the self-assessment tool, or the indicators, so that you can self-assess yourselves. And then we are going to use the performance monitoring and coaching and planning form. And of course, you have the tools here, the self-assessment tool, the IPCRF. You don't have to rate yourselves yet, but you can try to rate yourselves based on the indicators, and try to have an estimate of your current performance for all these indicators, whether it's classroom observable or non-classroom observable. And of course, as raters, you have to create an instructional supervision plan, which we will discuss in this video. Okay, so that's the first stage. And who are involved? Only the raters and the ratees. And of course, in the second stage, this is the heart of the performance management system, which is to monitor our teachers and to provide coaching. So what are the activities? This happens all throughout the year, except on the last part anymore, where we really finally rate our teachers based on all the results of their classroom observable indicators and the non-classroom observable indicators. So the activity here is that we provide consistent feedback to our teachers all throughout the year. So the first full period classroom observations, so of course we have here the performance monitoring and coaching. The first and second quarter, you are only required to 1 classroom observation. Then we have second full period classroom observations, which will happen on the third and fourth quarter. And of course, there is regular coaching and mentoring sessions. So we are hoping, principals, that you really guide your teachers, spend more time coaching them, helping them become better teachers. So that's why, principals, you have to be really good in teaching, because that's part of the domains in the PPSH. You have to learn the teaching and learning process, and you should focus on the teaching learning process. So what are the tools involved? Of course, we have the COT. It's called the Classroom Observation Tool. So we are going to rate the teachers based on the standard, which we will be talking here. What are the indicators? Then we have the performance monitoring and coaching form, or the PMCF. So who are the persons involved here? Of course, we still have the ratees and the rater. And on the third stage, of course, this happens. This is the most favorite and the most commonly seen, because here we already have the IPCRF filled with all the grades, and usually we have MOVs to present. But there are 2 activities here. We have the mid-year review, where we do it usually in the middle of the year, after second grading, or during the NSET. Unfortunately, our NSET was did not push through, so because of the health break. So there is a need for us to fill up the mid-year review. So I have a video on this, how to fill up your mid-year review. Just check it in my channel, and what are the forms that you need to fill up during the mid-year review. And of course, at the end of the year, you're going to have your year-end performance review and evaluation. And after the last day of classes, and that happens after the last day of classes and before the first day of classes of the succeeding school year. So what are the forms? Of course, you're going to use your IPCRF because this is where you put the rating, and of course the performance monitoring and coaching form, or the PMCF, where all the observations you had during the second stage in your performance coaching monitoring will be used to rate the teachers. So that is what's going to happen on the third stage. So persons involved, of course, you need to involve the raters, the ratees, then the approving authorities. Okay, let's go to the fourth stage, the performance rewarding and development planning. So this is a very important stage. Of course, school heads should award our teachers for good performance. So please do not just rate them without mastering the rubrics, school heads, because if you're going to rate even those who are underperforming in the same level as those who are very good performing, now you will cause a lot of discouragement among your people, because if they did well and they know that some of them are not doing well but still rated in a high grade, then that will also cause disengagement, and it will cause discouragement among our people. So you have to reward carefully. So in performance rewarding and development planning, try to create IDPs. So you're going to deal with this with your rater. You have to talk, and you have to accomplish this after the last day of classes and before the first day of classes of the succeeding school year. So there will be, sometimes this is interrupted because we cannot disturb our teachers anymore. So I would suggest that school heads, before the uninterrupted break, you should at least ensure that you really properly award the teachers, because as seen in the schedule, after the last day of classes, you have to reward those teachers who are really performing. So the tool is the IPCRF IDP. So this is where they also talk about what are the development plans and how they're going to succeed on the next school year. Okay, so those are the four stages, and please make sure that you master the tools. So this is just another way of presenting it to you. At first stage, you have the self-assessment tool, the individual development plan, your instructional supervisory plan, which you will have to prepare. Who will prepare that? We will talk about how are you going to prepare your instructional supervisory plan. By the way, the one who's going to prepare this is not the teacher, but the rater. But for master teachers, you have to prepare both a self-assessment tool, and you have also to prepare instructional supervisory plan. Why? Because you have to play the dual role. No, so why dual? Because you are a rater for those teachers who are under you, but at the same time you are also a ratee, since the school head and the principal will have to rate you. Okay, so that's the reason why you have to prepare both instructional supervisory plan and your individual development plan. And of course, you have to fill up the self-assessment tool. Okay, so for phase 2, again, you have the COT, because this is the performance monitoring and coaching. This is, if we were going to liken this to the process with our learners, this is like formative assessment. We coach, we try to see if what we are doing is helping our teachers, but please be there to guide them. Do not scare off our teachers because their life is too stressful already. No, so just share to your teachers. Do not forget these principles, that we are here to help our teachers make their life better by ensuring that they really develop their craft in teaching. So do not intimidate your teachers to the point that they are afraid to perform. No, so you have to be there to help them and try to explain to them that you are there to help them do better in the COT, and not just to scare them off, or to cause a lot of stress on their part. So that's why you have to create and use these tools, the PMCF, the COT, and you have to do regular monitoring and provision of technical assistance. All right, so these are the tools that you need for your performance review. The IPCRF, that's where we reflect all our grades, and we have phase 4, the rewarding. All right, so what are the indicators for this school year and the next coming 3 years that will be used in rating our teachers? We will have a special time on discussing the actual indicators. We are really going to master each one of them. What are the MOVs to attach? But at this point, just to give us a general idea, please know that what are the indicators, how many are there, non-classroom observable indicators, and what particular stages in the PPST career stage, does teacher 1 to 3 belong, teacher 4 to 7, master teacher 1 to 2, and master teacher 3 to 5. So the essence of this slide really is just to tell us that we rate teachers 1 to 3 differently than what we rate master teachers, because the assumption here is that for master teachers they are highly proficient. So just to explain the point, let's try to look at what it means to be a master teacher. No, so as you can see here, there is a definition of master teachers. So master teachers are classified as highly proficient teachers, are those who consistently display high levels of performance in their teaching practice. They manifest an in-depth, sophisticated, and understanding of the teaching and learning process. They have high education-focused situation cognition, are more adept in problem solving, and optimize opportunities gained from experience. And they provide a support and mentoring to colleagues. So not only that, they also provide mentoring to other teachers in their professional development, as well as work collaboratively with them to enhance the learning and practice potential of their colleagues. They continually seek to develop their professional knowledge and practice by reflecting on their own needs and those of their colleagues and students. So, as you can see, master teacher position shall be under highly proficient teachers category. Okay, for distinguished naman, the key words that we see here is that they embody the highest standard for teaching, grounded in global best practices. They exhibit exceptional capacity to improve their own teaching practice. So as you can see, it's really something that is highly distinguished. It's above the standard, and it's the highest standard. So they exhibit commitment to inspire the education community and stakeholders. So the distinguished type starts with master teacher 3 to 5. Okay, they even have higher salary grade than supervisors, because master teacher 5 are those will be salary grade 23. Okay, so PPST indicators, if you see green, it means this is for teacher for beginning towards proficient and proficient teachers. No, so as you can see here, there are 14 indicators for our teacher 1 to 6. Okay, so for 2025, and then notice how many non-classroom observable indicators. So just to give you an overview, these 9 classroom observation indicators there are 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9. And there are 5 non-classroom observable indicators for school year 2025-2026. So just to give you an idea, of course, the classroom observable indicators will be measured by your classroom observation or demonstration. For this school year, you will do it twice, for first grading and second grading, and then third grading to fourth. But for non-classroom observable indicators, you're going to use MOVs. So there will be means of verifications that you have to present. All right. So there is a difference now. If you see at 2026 to 2027, there are how many classroom indicators? Okay, it's still 9. And then still 14, total of 14. There are 5 non-classroom observable indicators. And here, there is an increase on school year 2027 to 2028. There is an increase of non-classroom observable indicators. I think there will be 6. So for classroom observable, the one that we are going to use for our classroom observation are reduced to 8. Okay, there will only be 8. That is how we are rated for master teachers. If it's blue, this is for master teachers. Of course, only for master teachers 1 and 2. Okay, so as you can see, it's quite different from the previous multi-year guidelines, because for the previous multi-year guidelines, there were lesser classroom observable. There were classroom indicators, no? Whether NCOI or COI, when I say NCOI, it means non-classroom observable indicators. There were fewer. But as you can see now, for master teachers, they have been on the same number with teacher 1 to 6. As you can see, there are still 14 classroom. All indicators are 14. For classroom observable indicators, there are still 9. And there are 5 non-classroom observable indicators for school year 2025-2026. And of course, Another pattern is that there is an increase of one classroom, non-classroom observable indicators on the last school year, which is school year 2027 to 2028. Right? So that is the pattern. This one is for the distinguished master teachers, for those who are master teacher 3 to 5. Okay? So the same number of classroom observable indicators, still 14. Okay. So another thing that is different in how we are rated for this school year is the emphasis on core competencies. So as expected, all employees, including teachers in DepEd, the demonstration of core competencies shall be assessed, anchored on Republic Act 6713, otherwise known as the Code of Conduct for Ethical Standards for Public Officials and Employees. These competencies represent how individuals demonstrate and uphold the values of organization and the civil service. So the core competencies include self-management, professionalism, and ethics, results focus, teamwork, service orientation, and gender sensitivity. So if you notice, before there were core competencies, but it has no bearing in our grade. But for this multi-year guidelines, it has already a bearing, because as you will see later on, this will comprise around maybe perhaps 5% of your grade. But for master teachers, there is an additional leadership competencies, because paragraph 23 of DepEd Memorandum 89 provides for teachers with supervisory functions such as the master teachers and department heads are expected to demonstrate leadership competencies. So what are these? This includes leading people, your ability to lead, ensure that the people around you develop, and people performance management. So this will be part of your grade. Later on, we're going to share to you how they will form part of your overall rating. Okay, so teacher self-assessment and development planning. We are now in stage 1, making ourselves discussing what will be the things that you have to do in stage 1. So teachers are ratees and shall assess their own capabilities and areas of improvement on the PPST indicators. They shall also assess their potential demonstration of core and leadership competencies whenever applicable. So a complete self-assessment, ito ay kinakover yung 37 PPST indicators, shall be conducted once every 3 years. And this serves as a comprehensive reflection and baseline for long-term professional growth. And the next full self-assessment shall be conducted only after the 3-year cycle is completed and all 37 PPST indicators shall have been assessed through the annual performance management process. So hopefully you can start doing your self-assessment, because there are 37. You just have to read all the indicators and try to assess yourself, and hopefully there will be already a tool release on this. But you can always we will be sharing all the materials for the indicators, for the 37 PPST indicators. So if you wish, you can follow the instructions at the end of the video, okay, together with the PowerPoint presentation. So for newly hired teachers, the full assessment covering all 37 PPST indicators shall be accomplished upon assumption to duty as part of their induction and onboarding. So take note of this, school heads. You have to ensure that they do self-assessment of the 37 PPST indicators. While the full self-assessment is done once every 3 years, the conduct of annual development planning based on the focus of PPST indicators shall still be required at the end of the performance cycle. So take note of this. There are 37 PPST indicators, but what is measured in our part as teachers and master teachers are only 14 indicators. And these are divided into 9 classroom observable indicators and 5 non-classroom observable indicators. So I think that's fair enough. But the challenge here is that when you do your demonstration, the 9 classroom observable indicators should be simultaneously be evident. You should be able to really showcase it during your demonstration. And that's quite a challenge, because imagine if you're going to do that in just one classroom setting, one classroom demonstration, and you have to embody the 9 indicators. That's the challenge. So that's why we're going to help you with that. We're going to study the rubrics together, and I will be providing tips now for you to really do well in your demonstration. So let's go to paragraph 26. Based on the result of the full self-assessment, the ratee teacher shall prepare a multi-year individual development plan. So what is this plan? This is a plan for you to develop what are the indicators that you feel you are weak, and you're going to try to find out what are the activities that you're going to do in order to do something about the indicators that you find that needs improvement. But remember, this is self-assessment, and you have to discuss this with the rater, with the PPS indicators and competencies, and they must enhance in the particular school year and in which areas coaching and mentoring are necessary. And of course, now this is an example of the monthly instructional supervisory plan. So of course, all the raters, school heads, master teachers who have people under you, who have leadership competencies that you have to fulfill, you have to prepare this. And I have attached here the form provided under the PED Memorandum 89. So as you can see, there are key result areas here and objectives. So in order for you to prepare this, ang gagawin mo is you look at the individual development plan of your teachers and then try to see, as a supervisor, because you are supervising your teacher, as the master teacher and the principal, you have to jive it based on the needs of your people. So as you can see, the key areas and objectives here, you write what are the key objectives, key result areas and objectives, and what are the enabling projects and activities that he promised that he is going to do in order to fulfill these key result areas. And how would you know that that person is succeeding? Of course, no, you have to agree on success indicators. Like for example, he would plan that he will enroll in masteral program. Of course, what are your success indicators? Maybe perhaps he should finish going to that, maybe the grade or the TOR or even just a certification. So what are the MOVs this time that he has to attach? So you have to say the TOR, for instance, and then what are the time frame, so that you can really go after that person. Not really going after, but you can really talk to him and ask how is he going with the results. Okay, then you have here for implementation of the 30-hour personal development entitlement. So of course, you have the name of the teacher, the title of the professional development activity. PD, by the way, is a professional development activity, the number of professional development hours, and who are the assigned relievers, and number of overload hours rendered by reliever. So you really have to align your last session perhaps, because professional development activities are considered part of this. Okay, so this is the monthly instructional supervisory plan. So if you need a template on this, again, we will be providing you with the template. You just have to watch this video until the end. All right, so here the performance monitoring and coaching and planning. So in paragraph 27, we see that the rater shall prepare the instructional supervisory plan guided by the individual development plans. As I've said, you have to base it on the individual development plans of your teachers being handled as ratees. Then we go to paragraph 28. The schedule of the conduct of the full period classroom observations shall be indicated in the instructional plan as agreed upon by both the ratee and the rater. So you really have to agree as to what is the schedule of your demonstration. So these observations are essential for gathering evidence of teaching practices aligned with the Philippine Professional Standards indicators and shall be used as key references for feedback and coaching sessions. So the instructional supervisory plan shall serve as a guiding document. So in phase 2, you're going to ensure that the support mechanisms, the observation, the feedback, and the coaching strategies are responsive to the teacher's actual needs and aligned with their professional development goals. In paragraph 30, we see that raters shall also ensure that the instructional supervisory plan includes the management of relevant professional development opportunities for teachers. So as the ratee, as the rater, you have to ensure that there are LAC sessions in place to really guide the teachers based on the needs, the weaknesses that they have self-identified during the self-assessment process. And they are to be identified based on their individual development plan and their self-assessment tool result and the observed performance gap throughout the school year. Right. So we have performance monitoring and coaching. This is phase 3 and again the heart of the performance management system. Right. So in paragraph 32, we see that phase 2 focuses on continuous tracking of teachers' progress and the provision of timely feedback and support to enhance professional growth and improve performance. Basically, phase 2 talks about tracking teachers' performance. You have to be there for them in the journey. And the performance monitoring and coaching of teachers shall be conducted through the following. So you have formative assessment. So if you're familiar with formative assessment, this talks about non-graded assessment for the teachers to see if what we are giving as an input to the teachers is really working. We have to be there and try to see if we are guiding our teachers to outstanding performance, so that at the time that they will be doing their classroom observation or demonstration, they will be guided. No? So we call this formative assessment. And the regular provision of TA or technical assistance, then coaching and mentoring. And the full period of classroom observations or the PPST arranged assessment, a PPST-based assessment. And we have the accomplishment and annotation of documents for rating the demonstration of non-classroom observable indicators. So there are forms that you have to really fill up. Of course, we'll be providing with the link, but just to tell you, DepEd Memorandum 89 already provides for the link, so you can just read it there. How to download all this classroom observation tool and other forms. No? So regular monitoring of teachers, instructional practices, and personal and professional development shall be conducted throughout the school year as part of the instructional supervision and as basis for coaching and mentoring. So the participation of the teachers in professional development opportunities as identified and scheduled in the instructional supervision plan shall also be regularly monitored and documented during this phase. So during this phase, the instructional supervisory plan shall serve as your main reference if you are the rater in the conduct of the coaching and mentoring session. So see, if you don't really do the performance commitment and planning properly, of course, then the whole thing will collapse, because if you haven't performed the performance commitment and planning, of course, you wouldn't have a responsive instructional supervisory plan. Okay, so in paragraph 36, we see that during this phase, the instructional supervisory plan shall serve as the main reference now. So as mentioned. Alright, so 37. Frequent short period and walkthrough observation. So as mentioned here in paragraph 37, we have to provide short period and walkthrough observations. Of course, we only ask our teachers to demonstrate and do demonstration twice a year, but frequent and short period walkthrough observations should be done. But please, school heads, do not do this in order to intimidate or cause additional stress to your teachers. The purpose here is to provide continuous support to teachers in enhancing their effectiveness in instruction and to address gaps identified during the full period classroom observation. So this frequent, short period, and walkthrough observations, like monitoring by walking around, approximately 10 to 15 minutes, shall be conducted as non-rated, formative, and developmental approach. Do not use this to intimidate anyone, or if your face is sometimes really intimidating, so all you have to do is to really talk to your teachers that you are there to help them get the highest grade possible, and you really believe on them that they'll be able to reach this target. So be someone whose presence is welcome, and reaching out your hand to them would mean something, not as a form of threat, but as a form of help. So these brief and informal observations will allow for timely feedback and targeted support, fostering continuous improvement and enhancement in teaching strategies. Okay, so this short period and walkthrough observation should occur regularly, with focus on specific instructional practices or areas of concern. So the purpose again for this observation is to provide constructive feedback and identify areas for growth and support professional development. Of course, there is also a need for collaboration. So teachers are encouraged to collaborate with colleagues or mentors during these observations to foster a culture of shared learning and support. And of course, you do your follow-up. Do not forget this, because after each observation, a brief debriefing session will be conducted to discuss findings, celebrate success, congratulate them, outline actionable steps for improvement, and of course, for documentation. So we are hoping that the teachers will be open to all these short but brief walkthrough observations, since they will only be doing their demonstration twice a year. But principals should be also be there to help and be helpful in doing this. So, and also do not make your presence too intimidating. So observer, Mentor shall maintain a record of each observation in the performance monitoring and coaching form and the associated feedback to track progress over time. So again, this is documented. You don't have to rate them, but you have to really document it using the PMCF. Again, the PMCF is performance monitoring and coaching form. And of course, we have here paragraph 38, regular monitoring and provision of technical assistance or practices that support the teaching and learning process. To ensure the effective design and the implementation of teaching and learning process and materials, as well as community linkages, professional engagement, and professional development, regular monitoring and targeted provision of technical assistance shall be conducted. Okay, complemented with immediate and constructive feedback, and this feedback will allow teachers to make timely improvements so that during the time that they will be doing their classroom observation or they're going to do their classroom demonstration, then they are ready. Then we have here significant incidents observed and feedback provided to ratees shall be recorded, again in the PMCF, and the rater as coach or mentor of the ratee plays a critical role in the performance monitoring and coaching. They shall provide an enabling environment and intervention for continuous improvement. Okay, so paragraph 41, teachers shall be required to undergo 2 full period classroom observations. So it's final already. You're going only to use two classroom observation for this school year. Okay, so the first full period observation shall be conducted at any time during the first or second quarter of the school year, while the second full period classroom observation shall take place at any time during the third and fourth quarter. So the schedule for each classroom observation shall be agreed upon the rater and the ratee, subject to items 46 and 47 of this memorandum. So below is the prescribed timeline for the conduct of full period classroom observation. So again, first and second quarter for the school year, and then during the third and fourth quarter of the school year. So there will be another, no? So table 7, 8, 9 provide for the schedule and distribution of the classroom observation indicators, and that shall be observed for beginning towards proficient, then proficient, highly proficient, and distinguished teachers. Alright, so here we see the schedule and distribution of the PPST. Of course, now that is how it's distributed. So it's important for us to understand the career stages. So as either the ratee or if you are the rater, no, you have to understand that there are PPST career stages and COT rubric levels. So the PPST presents a continuum of practice by stipulating what the teachers are expected to know and do at different stages of their development. So to address this continuum, each indicator in the COT uses 9 rubric levels. So there are actually 9 rubric levels based on the 4 career stages. So what are the 4 career stages? We have the beginning, the proficient, the highly proficient, and the distinguished. So each level corresponds to the extent of performance teachers in each career stages. So as you can see here, if taken in separate career stages, each indicator has 5 levels, diba? So when you rate your teachers, basically, if you notice, if you're the rater, if you have tried this, you're basically rated based on 5, diba? 5 levels. But the beginning, as you can see, is starts with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1 has a meaning. It means not evident. Building for 2, organizing, developing, and then applying. So in short, if you are a beginning teacher, you are rated at a lower standard as compared with a teacher who is rated under proficient. So for example, you are teacher 4. So if you're teacher 4, you will be rated starting your lowest possible grade starts with organizing, no? 3 siya. But if you're a master teacher, your lowest grade will only be that is equivalent to 1 in your grade. You will be your lowest level is 4, developing. In short, every teacher in different career stages is rated differently. In short, if you are a master teacher, then you will be rated at a higher standard as compared with teacher 1 to 3. Right. So as master teachers, under paragraph 45, you shall have a dual function as classroom teacher and mentor. And following the classroom observation indicators for highly proficient and distinguished teachers, you shall be demonstrated both through classroom observation and through submission of evidence by mentoring and collaboratively working with colleagues. So the indicators for highly proficient and distinguished, basically there is a difference between highly proficient and distinguished master teachers. But just to share to you, the master teachers have indicators where that reflects their dual function. So what does this mean? Later on, if you look at the indicators for school year 2025-2026, there will be 4 by which you will be observe the COT, or the classroom observation tool, will be used on your performance, as well as it will be used in order to find out if you have mentored other people as to that particular indicator. So in short, just to be brief about it, it means that you will be rated based on these indicators during your performance, and then you will also have to submit MOVs in order to prove that you have shared your expertise on this particular indicator to your teachers, to the teachers that are under you. Okay, that's why we call it dual function. And of course, now part of our the process is really pre-observation. So the ratee and the raters shall agree on the schedule of classroom observation. The schedule must set at least 3 working days before the classroom observation. So for example, you have set it on Wednesday, so you have to at least, there will be at least 3 working days. So maybe perhaps by Friday of last week, you should be able to do your classroom observation. Okay, because it says here working days before the classroom observation, so it doesn't count if it's Saturday and Sunday. So in the event when the agreed schedule cannot push through due to conflicting schedules, the classroom observation may be deferred, but must be rescheduled immediately to a day and time when the schedules of both the ratee and the rater align with each other. So in paragraph 47, in case of unforeseen circumstances and fortuitous events that are beyond the control of the schools, such as natural or man-made calamities, disasters, concerned schools may be allowed to deviate from the prescribed timeline of conducting your classroom observation in accordance with item number 92 of this memorandum, provided that all applicable modes of alternative classroom observation in the next item has been exhausted prior to submitting the request. So the adjusted schedule may be subject to approval to the school's division superintendent. So you really have to ask permission if you deviate on the timeline. So for instance, hindi ka nakapag-observe na sa mga teachers mo. So what will happen is that you have to justify that it is based on fortuitous event. Number 2, you have to justify that all applicable modes of alternative classroom observation has been exhausted. So later on, you will see na the second option is to do synchronous online class. Then second option is to do a synchronous online class, and then the last option is to do lock session. Okay, so it's here in paragraph 48. So as you can see, these are the options, and you have to exhaust them based on the sequence, and you have to justify that it is based on a fortuitous event. So fortuitous event means it is something that is beyond, independent of human will, and it is not something caused by your own negligence, for instance, or it is something that is related to acts of God or disaster. So there is a good definition of fortuitous event, but it is something that is out and beyond of our control. Okay, so that's how it is defined. So of course, you will have your pre-observation conference. Again, you have to conduct this, to do this. Okay, so before the conduct of the classroom observation, yung ratees, teachers, raters shall conduct a pre-observation conference to review the classroom observation tool appropriate for the career stage of the ratee to be observed. And they shall refer to the list of classroom observable indicators to be observed in the particular classroom observation period. Okay? And of course, this is the tool that we're going to use now. Again, you can find this. There is a link in the Ed Memorandum 89, but just for you to take note. As you can see, this is for school year 2025-2026. Okay, then you have here observation are only twice this school year. So as you can see, first and then second, diba? Okay, because dalawa lang for this school year. And there are 9 classroom observable indicators. The other 5, because there are 14, the other 5 are non-classroom observable indicators. So we are going to spend time sharing to you how you're going to be rated for each and what are the MOVs to prepare. Don't worry. So, and then we see here another one for teacher 4 to 7. Okay, and then another one for master teacher 1 to 3, still 9 classroom observable indicators. And then we have master teacher 3 and 5. Okay, so we have here lesson plan submission. So submission of lesson plan. So we have ratees to be observed shall submit their lesson plan. There is really a clear provision here on lesson plan, so you really have to submit it, and at least 1 day before the scheduled classroom observation. And observers are discouraged from providing technical assistance on teachers' ratees lesson plan that will be used in the actual evaluative rated observation. So as you can see here, you have to submit this at least 1 day. So can you submit it 2 days before? Of course, it says at least 1 day before the scheduled classroom observation. And observers, wag po kayong magbigay ng mga tips, no? Do not discourage, you are discouraged from providing technical assistance on teachers' ratees lesson plan. So your provision of technical assistance should be done all throughout the year, but not during the classroom observation, because this is the time by which you will allow the teacher to really showcase his best, no? So the ratees and the raters shall ensure that lesson plans and instructional materials and assessment tools and other teaching learning resources to be used during the classroom observation reflect those which are actually employed during the regular class days. So I really find this controversial, this paragraph 51, because if you're going to read this can be used by school heads to say no to a particular instructional material, saying that this is not something that you use every day. But I think what is written here is mandatory, because it says he shall ensure. So both the teacher and observers should be apprised on this, because this is a new important provision. Sometimes this may cause problems, I don't know, but the essence of this is that whatever we do in the classroom should be something that what we do in the demonstration during the observation process, classroom observation process, should reflect what you do every day. It's not something that you cannot do something or prepare something that is not reflective of your daily activities. So this is hard to do, because the usual culture is that when you do your classroom observation, you really have to prepare for it. There are always something new, and it's hard to distinguish a standard as to what you usually do every day and what you don't usually do. Remember, every day there's a new topic, and sometimes there are different tools and materials for every topic, no? So this is hard to implement for me, just my own personal opinion, but hopefully this will be further clarified, no, as to how this is done. But we see the intent here. The intent is that hopefully our classroom demonstration or the classroom observation process is not something that we just do for the sake of rating. It is something that is reflective of our daily performance as a teacher. Because remember, what we are rating here is your actual performance. It's not something that we just prepare for the sake of being graded. Because at the end of the day, our actions as a teacher is something that we do. Our performance is something we do for the purpose of improving performance in the classroom setting, and that all those things are for our learners. Okay, so it's not something that we just do for the sake of rating. Hindi siya something na maganda dahil lang merong rating during that time. Okay, our performance every day should be something that will impress our learners and will really help them. Okay, so paragraph 52, during the actual observation, classroom observation, the teacher shall deliver the lesson for purposes of rating the performance. Classroom observation shall be done for the entire class period. So, entire class period talaga. So, the observer shall adhere to the following protocol. Dapat gamitin niyo yung observation notes form to record comments and observation. You need to sit on available chairs. Kapag multiple yung observers, you have to sit apart. Hindi kayo magkatabi. Why? Because you don't want to be influenced, no, on how you will rate. For multiple observers, you are to avoid engaging in form of discussion. Bawal po mag-discuss, no, together with other raters, and avoid giving feedback. So dapat poker face lang po tayo. We should not react, we should not share any reaction as to the performance of the teacher. Okay, so yun talaga gagawin natin. Okay, so So to avoid, this is to avoid giving a hint to our teachers as they do their demonstration. And then what we are going to do next is that we have to leave the room immediately after the observation. So ratees under highly proficient and distinguished teacher career stages shall be observed by at least one teacher ratee as part of mentoring and coaching activities. Right. So here, individual rating, the teachers rate the performance of the teachers using the COT appropriate to the teacher career stage, and the rating for the teacher's performance shall be solely based on actual classroom observation as recorded in the observation notes form. Only those indicators expected to be observed in an observation period as specified in Table 7, 8, 9 shall be given ratings. So if there are multiple observers, only the subject specialist is expected to rate the indicator 1.1.2, 1.1.3, or 1.1.4. So may ibig sabihin kasi itong 1.1. No? 1.1 means domain 1, strand 1, and career stage 2, 3, or 4. Yun yung ibig sabihin yan. So if you try to observe later on, yung indicator na domain 1, strand 1 talks about integration across different subject areas. So only those who are subject specialists po ang magre-rate. So if, for example, if it's a math subject and you have an observer which is a subject specialist, siya lang po yung magre-rate on the integration across different subject areas. So we will really discuss each one of this later on. Okay, but for elementary, generalist lang po. So all observers are expected to rate. Okay, so paragraph 56, inter-observer agreement exercise. So yung raters, mag-meet sila to discuss the individual ratings given. So kapag different po yung kanilang ratings, they shall come up with a final rating, and the final rating shall not be average of the individual ratings. Hindi po siya average. It shall be determined through reason and consensual judgment. So, meaning, they have to settle themselves and they have to discuss among themselves, ano ba talaga yung rating ni teacher? Would it be 5 or 6? Hindi po pwedeng i-5.5 na lang kasi iba yung kanilang pag-assess. They have to distinguish ano yung features of practice at saan talaga yung performance nagbelong. No? So, that's why mastery of the rubrics is very important po. Next, we have here post-observation conference. So after that, you shall conduct a post-conference observation conference with the ratee immediately after the observation. Kung hindi kaya, within 3 days po. Thereafter, to discuss his or her experience and performance during the classroom. So take note, this post-classroom observation conference shall only be conducted in a manner which is constructive feedback po bibigyan natin. Hindi po siya traumatic feedback. So, by the raters, observers on the experience and the performance of the ratee during the classroom observation. Okay? Paragraph 59. The ratee shall consistently demonstrate the achievement of non-classroom observable indicators all throughout the school year. And 60. The ratees are expected to promptly show or provide evidence and documentation on the demonstration and achievement of the objective. So, such evidence and documents may be cross-cutting and targeting multiple objectives. So, this is something new, paragraph 60 po. Let's take note of this. Hindi po kailangan natin i-photocopy yung multiple kung meron po tayong MOVs that is cross-cutting. Ibig sabihin ng cross-cutting is that it is an MOV that can be used for multiple objectives. There is no need to duplicate copies of the documents per objective. Hindi na po kailangan kasi marami pang kahoy pong napuputol dahil we have to photocopy and we have a lot of MOVs to attach. No portfolio per performance assessments shall be collected. So, no need na po ang maraming portfolio. Okay, raters shall provide timely feedback to the documents presented which will be recorded in the PMCF for reference in the year-end performance evaluation. So this is very important. Wala na pong portfolio performance assessment na kailangan natin i-collect. Instead, kapag merong kailangan i-submit, immediately yung rater, you record it in the PMCF, and raters shall provide timely feedback. So, yun yung mangyayari. You will be rated based on the PMCF. So, teachers who collaborated in the design, by the way, in relation to this, you will see later on that the MOVs are not really something new, no? The MOVs are those you usually prepare. For instance, di ba meron na kayong PMCF, meron na kayong meron na kayong lesson plan. Of course, you cannot do your demonstration without the lesson plan. So yun lang yung gagamitin as MOVs. And I hope you will subscribe and follow the page because we'll be sharing to you ano po yung mga MOVs na dapat nating i-prepare. Okay, but paragraph 60 is telling us no need to photocopy, tapos no portfolio for performance assessment shall be collected. So teachers who collaborated in the design, implementation, or documentation of a school-wide or grade-level initiative ay maaari mo provide ng shared documentation. So yung mga teachers na nag-collaborate yung sa design, implementation, or documentation ng isang school-wide or grade-level initiative ay maaari mag-provide ng shared documentation with clearly indicated roles and evidence of contribution. So the acceptable group documents include team lesson plan, yung school-based training program, community projects, and classroom innovations implemented at scale. Okay, so we will discuss later on yung performance review and evaluation. So I hope you have learned something. Of course, no, later on we will be discussing the different indicators, the actual indicators, the 14 indicators. So both for teacher 1 to 6 and then for master teachers at yung distinguished. Hopefully, will be done. So meanwhile, don't forget to like and subscribe and then follow us in Facebook with Learning with Doc Devs. For those who wanted this PowerPoint presentation, I'm willing to share to you this PowerPoint presentation para magamit nyo po in terms of disseminating this important information to your teachers. Please message us at Facebook Learning with Doc Devs so that you'll be able to get a copy of this PowerPoint presentation. So we just have to ask you to please review the channel if you have learned something about this, and feel free to send a screenshot as to how you have learned something through your review in the Facebook page, and we will be sending to you a link including po yung mga forms so that you'll be able to use these forms and prepare for your classroom demonstration. So please don't forget to share this video and help more teachers get the outstanding mark for this school year. Okay, with that, thank you so much everyone, and I'll see you in our next video.